Aloha and welcome to Kilipohe. I'm doing little 9-minute walkthroughs of the property, and we've made it halfway through our diamond head edge of the property, and we're just looking back at what was Uluhe field. It's now cleared out. Just looks amazing in this afternoon sunlight. It's, for me, enlightening to see where our shade is, where the sun is, and what our property or our home will look like, or whatever we build in this area. So as I mentioned, that rubber tree that's lying along this rise was under a lot of uluhe, and that's all the uluhe there in that channel that covered it. So it kept looking for sun. And look at that. Now this entire field is just enriched with sunlight and the mulched up uluhe. So I'm hoping everything will grow well after we start planting. So this is the back ridge of what may be our home. And that far side that you're looking at is the Eva end of our property, Eva border of our property. And most of that is guava, and I'll walk through that way in a bit and talk about that. This, following this white string, is the back half of the property. Also containing a lot of trees and very little uluhe at this point. But as I mentioned, and excuse my walking and talking as I walk around this tree. There we go. So, as you see, it's really moist, and it's probably not a good word, but verdant, definitely, and alive. This backside of the house rise is actually more lava. Again, we were building on lava. Contains a cave right here where this banyan is growing, and all of these tendrils are forked into the ground. So that's what we're looking at. And this big guy is an albizia. It's been treated, and we're hoping it'll fall and die before too long. The problem with albizia is that they grow really, really tall, but they have, as you can see, shallow roots. And so along comes a big storm and the whole thing falls. And so when that happens, you get a lot of damage to homes and property, and it's really hard to mobilize and get around these trees, because as you look at them, they're massive. So we treated them, and as you know, the few that, even though this one is not on our property, if it fell, it would affect us if it fell the wrong way. So treated. Let me get under the line. So this was one of the caves I mentioned. One of the first ones we found and treated for fire ants. Oh yes, fire ants. We treated the entire property with our first layer of tango so far. But you can see just down there by the base of that tree that there's a little cave back there. It's just nice and quiet and cool, and has a very grotto feel to it. You can see the laua'e growing. That's this fern right here. And laua'e for me is very touching. It reminds me of home. Reminds me of my dad and growing up as a kid in Papakolea. These are not John's favorite. He calls them screw pines, otherwise known as pandanus or hala. So we're trying to get rid of them. And we're going to go along our property line again. Crickety crackety. That's not my knees. That's the limbs on the ground. Screw pines, as he likes to call them. The good news is all these limbs on the ground means that some things that were treated or old or aged are actually falling now, better than later. So here's the string of our property, and I'm on the inside because it was a known pathway. Oh, I think I just saw a chicken of some sort. Let me get down here. See something in there running away. I'd rather have it run away than toward me. Okay. You see a lot growing here still, but also a lot of dead leaves. Again, we tried to treat it. And here we come. That is the property line I was talking to you about. And we're hitting shortly the backside. Here we go. So there's our white line, our line of demarcation, as best as John could mark it, and our back pin. So this orange flag denotes where our property ends. And all of this is what that front half looked like. When I talk about luscious uluhe fern, this is it. It just looks tropical and welcoming and soft, like you could lie on a pillow. But I'm telling you, that stuff is just a gnarly vine. It will grab a hold of you and not let go, and it's so thick and deep. Even though it's this high, there's layers of it growing all the way down. So it's quite a determined fern, and beautiful. Thankfully, all of this area behind our property is part of the association and owned by the association and currently reserved for a park. So the plan is for this to become a park, and that means nobody else will build behind us, which is kind of cool because it is beautiful. And it's nice to have green around you and not your neighbor right up against you. Luckily, nobody owns our property to the Diamond Head side, but it's also going to be really beautiful to have this back property to us. So now I'm looking, quote, Eva again, and you'll see mango trees along with a few healthy screw pine pandanus trees, some palms, some lying bushes. We're going to make our way across to our other pin so that you can see what lies on that side. If my timer goes off between now and the time I make it all the way across, I'll stop and start another video recording. But again, this is the back half of our property. And if you follow that white string that goes all the way out, you can kind of see the ridge where I stood, looking toward the front half and then back down the cave, the second cave or grotto area where the fern and the banyan tree is. Not uluhe fern, but laua'e fern. It's a different kind of fern, and it doesn't grow like this. It actually grows in single leaves. I'll point it out again if we pass it. But that's the front. I am at the back, as denoted by this pin. And this is the diamond head edge of Kilipohe, Ke Kanilehua.